Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's July 22nd. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And quick look at our daily chart. Real quickly before we get to that, some of you had asked me about, I think I'd semi-updated you about my appointment with the heart doctor. Um, they put me on some meds to try to get my heartbeat back in rhythm. And I've been on these meds about a week now. And for the last 4 or 5 days, I've had no AFib. I've had uh, no abnormalities, good heartbeat. So it looks like the meds are going to work for now, and that may be all I have to do. So that was an answered prayer. I didn't really want to have. They have the next alternative was they go in through. They do like a catheter or something and go into your heart, and they shock some places in your heart to try to get to kill those nerves that cause the problem. And I really didn't want to do that if I didn't have to. I'd rather. But so far the medication's working. I'm feeling fine. No side effects from it, and my heartbeat's been normal, and my uh, heart rate's been normal, and so everything looks good. So right now I'm looking good, and just appreciate all the prayers. And I know a lot of you ask for an update, and so that's where I'm standing. Things look good for me, so I'm back on track for a little while. Hopefully this will continue to work for me, and that'll be the end of it. But as of right now, I'm good. The medication's taking care of my issue, and I'm back in the saddle and kind of back to semi-normal. I'm still going to keep my hours back a little bit for a couple more weeks just to keep my stress levels down for a little bit and make sure that everything's okay. But right now, everything looks good. Appreciate everybody asking. I appreciate the prayers and the well wishes and all that. But thanks for bearing with me through all this. But my health is, I'm on the mend, it looks like. I'm on the right track. So just wanted to give you that quick update. But let's get to the chart lesson. You can see we had an update today. It was really just kind of a range day in the end. We traded way down. Notice what happened. We tested that and went higher here. We came back and tested it again and turned up again. So we may go higher from here. Usually a couple of tests. We could test it one more time, and if it holds again, my guess is we're going higher. So this market seems to want to go higher. It's taking its time. We had a really big rally here, and it's been consolidating some of that, but it looks like we may break out and go higher again. So definitely an update today. We closed higher. We traded lower at one time, but turned up and closed close to the highs. And you can see where we've opened up here. It's about 5:30 now. I'm a little late getting this done, so I do have to go in tomorrow midday for a stress test, but that's not going to affect the. I'll be here in the morning, and then I'll go take my stress test, and then I'll be back in the afternoon. So uh, won't affect anything tomorrow other than maybe my trading, but I'm usually done trading by then anyway. So uh, anyway, here's our daily chart. Let's flip over to the 2000 tick chart, see what it looks like there, and we'll go through the trades and we'll wrap the stay up. But let's flip over. Okay, here it is, and in the end, it was just a big range day. You can see all this right in the middle, to kind of testing it on both sides before we had a failed break lower and then took off higher. And you might have looked for a measured leg from here to where's the high, maybe right in there, and then come down here. And so that would have been giving you a nice target. We actually surpassed that, went back and tested some of the previous highs up here. And so it looks like a big range day basically with two legs back up. And then we tried to sell off and we bounced it near the midline again. And it looked like we were going to go higher, but that breakout failed as well. And we're trading back within the range now. So I'd call this a range day that closed on its highs. But let's zoom in here. We'll go through the trades. There was a really good trend here. If you didn't catch it early, though, you just didn't get any of it. And that's the way it's been a lot lately. 7 o'clock came as we're just kind of making this high here. And this was tempting to go short, but we're still in this range. I'm sorry, trend channel. And there's no break of it yet, so I think it's a little dangerous to go short there. And you see it kept going higher, and then we're suddenly we do get a close outside and a new high, and the next thing you know we're going lower. But there's just no chance to enter in that tight range. And we run down here, we make a low. There's a higher low here, but no setup. Comes back, tests that again. I, I meant to mark this. You could almost argue there's a triple test there. We didn't quite make a new high though, but you might still take that short. I think you're better off to wait on the lower high, which comes here, and you got to go short right into the EMA. But then you get a failure, which is probably going to trap people on that second entry long. And so I like going short right there, and you can see the bottom just falls out of it. And it runs down, all the way down, makes a new low here. It's tempting to go long there, but I just sit tight because you're still in this channel. There's no break. That's the first break of it. Notice you're working up, close outside, new high. And unfortunately, you don't get a good signal bar there, not on my chart. If you had a good signal bar, go short on that second entry. But it didn't work out on mine. There's a lower high here, but it looks a little sideways. It's moved a good bit. You're not looking for a reversal here, so you can't take that. And then you're just kind of chopping sideways, and next thing you know, it bounces. But notice what happens. You get two legs up. You do get a close outside and a new high here. That's a second entry. I like going short there. It was good for nothing more than a scalp, and then it returns back up and makes a new high. I guess these are not necessarily convincing closes, but on that second entry, I still think you can go short right there, that far away from the EMA. Of course, then it turns up for your new high, and there's a big bearish bar right there. I definitely like going short there. I marked this one green because you had to go short on the inside bar, and you're probably better off just to skip that. So I went back and forth about the even market, but I wanted to make sure I talked about it. I would not take that trade because this is an inside bar, but there's still some room back to the EMA. Maybe you take it, maybe you don't. I would skip it, honestly. And then we just start chopping sideways. And there is a bounce off the possible trend line here. You draw your trend line off those two swings, but it doesn't turn into anything. Again, there's no setup there. It takes off, and notice you do get two legs up, and this time you do get a close outside the new high, so that's a good second entry short, way away from the EMA. I like that one. Lower high here, but no setup, and then there's a failure here, but it's not in the right place. You should be still looking for longs here. We finally come back to the key entry point, but we get a close outside, and we don't get a very good signal bar. It's an inside bar. But notice it does run up and make a new high. And so if you could get a chance to go short here, you would, but there's just really no setup. We get a higher low here from the previous low, but that's not a very good signal bar. So I don't think you can go long there. There is a second entry short there, and you could argue there's a triple test. I didn't mark it. I didn't really like this because we're probably headed back to the highs, and you can see, even though you probably would have got a scalp out of that, it's still headed higher. That was your expectation there. And so then it turns down. That's not a good enough signal bar, but you do get a lower high right here that would probably qualify. It's got that 2-bar matching high, and it's at the top of a range, so I think you could go short there. Runs back to the low. You get a close outside new low and a decent signal bar right off the lows. You're just playing range rules here. Go long right there. Turns back down, no setup. Bounces again at the lows with a good signal bar. Close outside new low. Go long right there. There's a higher low here, but I didn't like this one. We weren't quite back to the highs, but that's just a first entry, and it's a slightly higher low. I mean, you could argue for it to maybe be green, but I'd skip that trade. It turns out to be a good move, but it's just not a very good setup, so I'd skip it. There's no setup to go short again. We just weren't getting anything to the short side. And we still haven't really put in a new high after, actually we had the break and a new high here, so I think this is just consolidation. We run down, we get a failed breakout, not a good enough signal bar, just wait. And you get a second entry short right there, but it's right into the support, so you can't go short there. But when it breaks out and makes that double bottom, I like going long right there. I think that's a good enough signal bar. You can treat that as a high or low, that double bottom. Just go long there. And at the very least, you're expecting it to come back and test the breakout area again. Or it could fail, was likely to fail, and it does fail, and we're back in the range, and you can see we're still getting resistance until it breaks out. But no longs or shorts there. You might go short there, but it looks really congested. I'd probably just skip it. If you took it, I think it would be a one-tick failure, so it's just not worth. You would have got a chance to get out of it, but it's just not worth taking that. It just looks too sideways, and by the time you got this bar, you definitely, if you were in that trade, I would definitely exit, because then you can clearly see the congestion by then. You may not have quite seen it when this bar happened, but after that, definitely exit with what it'll give you before you get stopped out. And you can see you could have got a chance to get out with 2 or 3 ticks several times there before it broke higher. That's the good thing about a setup like that that gets stuck in congestion. A lot of times it will give you a chance to exit. And the problem is do I exit or will it still go lower? I mean, it's giving you hope here that it's going to go lower, but every time it closes higher, that's not a good sign. So by the time you got this bar, I would get out of this trade with whatever it would give you. And of course it does reverse. I would have just skipped it though, because it's not a very good setup to begin with. But you get 2 legs higher, it turns down, you get a lower high but no setup, and then you get a reversal pattern, still way away from the EMA. You've more than moved a measured move, so I like going short on this trap. Just to try to ride it back to the EMA, and maybe you catch the highs. Turns out to be a pretty good move, just a first entry, and then you get a close outside, and you get 2-leg correction. You expect prices to try to make a new low. Of course, it looks like it closed outside, but I think my line has moved some there. I think it's more like that right there. So this is your first break. Second entry short, expecting prices to make a new low. And that turns out to be one of the best moves of the day. Boom, it just takes off. And then it reverses. You can't go long there. You need a higher low, and you don't get one until way up here, and that's too late. Just a first entry there. And here you get 2 legs back, but you don't want to go long into that resistance. And it pushes up. You might argue this is a double bottom, so you could argue, hey, maybe this is a second entry short. I'd wait for the lower high. But you don't get a good setup on the lower high. Then you get another reversal here, but it's still going short. Now you're trying to go short right into the previous resistance. It's acting as support. That's not a good idea. And then you get your close outside and a new low, and it turns up. But again, you don't want to go long into that resistance. I mean, there's no way to know if that's going to act as resistance or support yet. It's going back and forth. So that's one of those trades where you just sit tight, because you don't know what prices are going to do. There's not enough information there to tell you, hey, prices should be going lower, but there's nothing here to say they're not going to go higher yet either, because they could go higher on the breakout. You know, most of them are going to fail, even if only momentarily, but sometimes they'll take off. And so you just don't know, and that took you into 230. So there it is. Again, it's just a big range today, and you can see we had really from about a little after 9:15 to 9:30, all the way to lunchtime, just sideways. Just a tight range, really. So, and then we took off and traded higher again. So I'd call this a range day with a lot of mixed trading that closes higher. But there's some good moves here, and you get a chance to get in some of them early. Whether or not you can catch a runner and ride them out, that's one thing, but it does give you a chance to trade them anyway. There was no news today, so nothing to worry about on the news front. And anyway, there it is. That's going to wrap it up for the day. I don't see anything else here very interesting to talk about. So, yeah, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. and we'll see you next time.